Right. Like you said, the next night you were on tour, the LL Nitro tour. Take us back to some of your favorite tour memories. That tour involved Big Daddy Kane, De La Soul, I believe EPMD. Take us back to some of Daddy Rich's best memories of that tour.
Oh man, like the Big Daddy Kane tour, that was the illest. You had Digital Underground, you had Queen Latifah, Moni was out there with them. Who am I forgetting? I don't think EPMD was on that leg of the tour. I can't remember who else was with us, but it was crazy. I mean, that's where I first met Pac. Like, I used to travel with like clippers because I used to know how to cut hair, and I'll edge up searches here while we on the road or whatever, and then here comes Pac. Yo, I heard you know how to cut hair. Yo, you gotta hook me up, man. Look at my shit, man. You gotta hook me up. I looked at him, he looked at me, we just started fucking laughing, and next thing you know, I'm giving this dude a haircut, and every day we on tour just kicking it. But we had this water fight, man, with Queen Latifah and Digital Underground. We destroyed this fucking hotel. I can't remember what town it was, but I mean, like, we got super soakers. We was like, the locks with the cards, those first started coming out at the hotels. We did shit like soak people's locks so they couldn't escape. and that shit ended with like my man Minister. He was like I think Queen Latifah's bodyguard. He bust his ass and broke his leg.
Oh wow.
But if you look at Digital Underground when they went on Arsenio Hall, you'll see them wearing third base t-shirts. The first time, and that was for me for what the fuck did Shock say? Honorary conduct in battle. I mean, it was some serious shit. We tore that fucking hotel apart, man. You know what I mean? Young, you got money, just having fun. And this is like the days before you really needed a bodyguard to walk around. You know what I mean? The fans were just glad to see you. They wanted to rap for you or whatever. The last thing on your mind was one of these people trying to kill you. So like that was like the golden era, man. I don't think that shit will ever come back like that for these rappers.
Right, I agree. Go ahead.
Huh? No, I'm just saying like Big Daddy Kane, at like the end of the show, he'd always like announce what hotel we were at. And it used to be bananas. I mean, like 200-300 girls in the lobby of the hotel. Parking lot, everywhere, just a fucking madhouse.
Crazy. Good time to be alive.
Yeah, man.
You came in on the album around, I believe, Gas Face as far as video experiences. Can you take us back to a young Zev Love X and the making of Gas Face video?
Oh man, Zev and his brother Sub Rock, man. I met them through Search. Like they used to have their own little clique out in Far Rockaway, the GYP posse and whatnot. So our dancers, Ahmed and Otis, Zev, Sub Rock, Keyron, what's my man's name again? I was just thinking about him earlier. Anyway, yeah, I met them back in the days. I mean, real humble, cool dudes, very religious. These dudes are like teenagers, and they were speaking Arabic. My dancers spoke Arabic. Zev Love X, Sub Rock. I mean, just intelligent, worldly dudes, man. Just their concepts and shit was just so far out that they was just on their own plane. They weren't trying to do anything like anybody else. They was just on their own plane. Yeah, man. Real creative, good dudes.
Right. Some of your best memories of Sub Rock. He doesn't get mentioned enough. Can you take us back to a young Sub Rock?
Sub Rock was always like a quiet dude, man. He was always a quiet dude. He was never out there. I would say Sub Rock was painfully shy. You know, these dudes were talented, but they didn't necessarily want cameras on them. But just super talented kid, man. Just real cool. Just real cool. It really fucked everybody up when he passed away. That kind of changed a lot of dynamics with the group.
Right. Is the first time we hear Daddy Rich on Wax, the Cactus revisited?
I think I did some scratches on like a outro or some kind of intro on the Cactus album. I think I did scratches on one of those records. And then the Cactus revisited, that's when I really, you know, got my props or chopped my teeth as far as being third base's DJ.
What was that?
Because
Go ahead.
There was a period of time where people didn't know who I was. I wasn't on any of the record covers, in any of the videos, any of the promo pictures. But I think Cactus revisited when we did that Product of the Environment remix. That's when people like, okay, well, this guy's their DJ. Because I think Search and Pete fired a couple of DJs. You know, just over some whatever shit. But
right.
Yeah, I was the established DJ for third base, I would say, when the Cactus Revisited came out.
What was the concept of the Revisited? Was it to get your name out there? Was it to keep the momentum going? What was the idea behind releasing that EP right after the Cactus album?
That really didn't have nothing to do with me. You think that Def Jam put out a freaking EP to help promote the DJ? Nah, that wasn't happening. It was, I think they wanted to try and push the album further. And I think the idea was the Cactus Revisited would have people go back to the original Cactus. We capture some new fans because we did some new stuff on there with Molly Mall, that Product Environment remix. And I think they were trying to bring the album to platinum because I think it was already gold at that point, and they were trying to, get it that nudge to platinum.
Right. The next year, K.M.D releases Mr. Hood. Do you have anything, any involvement with that project or any memories of those guys creating their debut album?
Nobody had anything to do with those guys' debut album. They were like a self-contained unit. They were a self-contained clique. Nobody thought like them. Nobody could make beats for them, and nobody could write for them. So they were just like, K.M.D was just K.M.D.
Right. Very dope. Right after that, the group goes into the sophomore album, Derelicts, a Dialect. What is the game plan from your point of view going into that album?
I think the game plan was to continue with the same sound that brought success from the Cactus. So they went back to Prince Paul, Sam Sever, all the people who, except for the Bomb Squad. Then I don't really know if there was like a game plan per se. It was like trying to dodge landmines because you got to remember that we're talking about white rappers in the 90s. This is a post Beastie Boy thing. Beastie Boys came in, black people fucked with them. And then as soon as they got large, they started with the rock and roll. So it was like people were very mindful of that, like, nah, you ain't gonna trick us again. And trying to give the label what they wanted, that pop record and whatever, but still stay true to hip hop. So I think that was the game plan with it.
Right.
And I think Pop Goes the Weasel was kind of like, Search and Pete thumbing their nose up to Russell and Lior. Like, okay, you want a pop record? We're going to make a pop record, but we're going to use it and diss pop radio. Pretty much. So.
Right. Best memories for Daddy Rich, going to Chungking, Calliope Studios, those sessions. What's the best overall memory of the sessions for this album?
Just the different people that were coming in that were involved with the album. We had Nice and Smooth come in, Chubb Rock. It was just like a whole different energy from the first one. I mean, you had like Michael Jackson's publicist coming in there with fucking sushi and shit like that. And it was just like a circus. You know what I mean? It was a circus. People just in and out. But it was dope.
Right. You got to land your first placing as producer on Daddy Rich in Atlanta 1210. How did that come about? And how long before that did you start getting into producing?
I guess I was looking around like the people that I looked up to in DJing, and you know they were getting into producing. So, you know, you start seeing the natural progression for a DJ is to become a producer. And I can't remember if the Gladiator soundtrack or that Daddy Rich and 1210s, which one came first. But yeah, I got this sample from my girlfriend at the time. Her grandmother had a wild record collection, and I got that sample and took it to the studio and whatnot, chopped it up. And no, actually I did it before. I had one of those Digitech samplers. Oh, I had two of them. And it was like a 2-second sampler. And you could loop it, but you had to loop it exactly right for it. You know, it's weird to explain, but I did it at home and we redid it on Sam Sever's MPC 60. And yeah, the rest is history.
Right. Overall, were you pleased with that sophomore album?
Some of it. I just felt like my favorite groups are like EPMD, Tribe, you know, Public Enemy. Like you throw their shit on in a stadium, you feel it. You know, you feel that production, and that's what I wanted. And I wanted to lean more to that, you know, traditional boom bap, but you know, you got to keep the label happy, you know, and this is what worked for them. So I can't tell them like, well, this worked for you, but fuck it, drop it and start doing this. You know what I mean? So.
Right. You guys appeared on Arsenio Hall. Can you take me back to the Me So Horny intro?
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, big shout outs to Pete and Search for giving me the opportunity to do that, because like a lot of dudes, like a lot of dope DJs that were in groups that never got that type of shine. But here's the thing, like the idea came about like 2 days before we did the show. Like, yeah, it's gonna be Arsenio's birthday, we're gonna do this, or what are we gonna do? And I got those records, and I forgot what record company it was did that vinyl, but the vinyl was wild thick. The shit was like trying to cut 2 pizzas. It was like 2 heavy pieces of vinyl. And I practiced that routine and never nailed it. So I halfway was like, maybe I shouldn't do this, because every time I did this at home, the needle skipped. And I went up there and like everything worked out. Like one part of it, you see where Arsenio is stepping up on the riser. And I'm like, yo, it's done now. It's done now. As soon as he step on this, it's going to skip. But like, you know what I mean? The ancestors were with me or something and held the needles down for your boy, and it worked out.
Very dope. One of the most memorable performances of all time on Arsenio. Later that year, you guys appeared on Rap Pages. Take us back to your initial reaction, and how did the cover come about?
I don't even remember it. I kid you not. I can't even remember it. I mean, it was like every day you were doing something different. You're taking photos for this, you're doing an interview for that, you're doing a show here. So I couldn't even tell you when that happened, when we took the photos or anything.
Right.
That's a flash to me.
At this point, I imagine life is changing. How is life changing for you being at the peak of probably your career at this point?
Oh man, it was great. I mean, it was great. I was able to do things for my family, do things for my friends, create opportunities for other people, go buy what I want. I mean, I've experienced the point where I've bought everything that I wanted to buy in a mall before, where I go back and it's like, okay, I already got that. I already got that. I already got that. Yeah, man. So I definitely had fun with it, shared it with my friends, shared it with my family.
Right. Eventually, the group goes its separate ways. We don't have to get into the details. But at what point does DJ Daddy Rich decide to step into the executive role and start finding groups for itself?
I already started trying my production skills and whatnot, and I was already in the process of doing that. It's funny because what's his name? Bob Sumner. He was like the executive producer along with Russell for Def Comedy Jam. We were getting ready to go on our first tour that we're going to headline. We got props and everything. We got searches flying out of some Jack in the Box on stage. Pete got a throne that turns around into a phone booth. I got my DJ stand and with the lights and all the crazy shit. And that tour, we broke up on that tour, and Bob Sumner came to me about Def Comedy Jam. He's like, yo, I want you to do this Def Comedy Jam thing. And I chose to go on tour with Third Base instead of doing Def Comedy Jam. So that could have been very well me up there instead of Kid Capri. But I don't think I could have did what he did because I'm not like one of those DJs who was on the mic and shouting and whatever. But I was already interested in production before the group broke up. And I had my group, the Dreadnotz, at the time. And when the group broke up, I got them signed to Dante Ross's imprint, Butter, under Elektra Records. And we did that album. And that's one of my regrets. I wish that album came out because I think that's some of my best work. But it was just not in the cards. The MC that was the leader of the group, he had like some mental health issues and whatnot, and yeah, the group disbanded. But yeah, man, if you look on YouTube, you probably find some of the Dreadnought music.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did one video, Causing a Menace. That was as far as the production was concerned, that was me, Ezo Brown. He's got his clothing line right now. Urban 71, ERBN 71. My man Sekou, you can catch him at Senghorse_7. We did the production for that Dreadnought album. And yeah, that was the team.
Did that album end up being completed? And if so, will it ever see the light of day at a later time?
It's completed. It was completed. This dude waited till we were there. The album is done and we're mastering it. And this dude is like my little brother, and he looks over at me and he's like, yo, thank you for everything you've done for me and blah, blah, blah. You know, we finally did it. And this is a celebration moment. And he's like, yo, are you fucking my baby mother? And I'm like, yo, dog, I met her 2 times. I don't even know her. And he had like some mental problems. He tried to burn his mother's house down and all sorts of crazy shit.
Mm.
So it was a crazy, crazy time for me.
Right.
The album got done, but by that time, I think Hot 97 had just started up in New York, and they wanted us to come up here and do radio drops or whatever. That's when they just started. There was no commercials. That's when all that bad boy music came out, all the Wu-Tang music came out uninterrupted, and they wanted us to be a part of that. And this dude just refused to do interviews. This dude refused to just, come to work or whatever. And he ended up leaving. He was the front man of his own group and left to go be somebody's like side stage partner in another group. Which didn't make any damn sense in the world to me.
Right.
But like I said, he had some mental health problems.
Right. We can't overlook your appearance in Juice. How did that come about? And take us back to getting that role.
That was Plastic Man. Plastic Man was the one with the plug, and he reached out to me, got me involved with it and whatnot. And I was kind of pissed off at first when I saw the screening, because those records that we were up there cutting in the movie, those are overdubs. They did a good job. Now that I look at it, they did a pretty good job. But whatever the record that is in the promo that you showed, that's not what I was cutting that day. If you look, you'll see I was probably cutting Rock the Bells or something like that.
Right.
But I guess they didn't want to. I guess they didn't want to pay for the samples or whatever.
Gotcha.
So
Go ahead.
They used the soundtrack. They used the movie soundtrack.
Gotcha. At what point do you and Pete reconnect and start talking about Dust to Dust? And what role did you play on that album?
I mean, it wasn't a reconnection. It was like one dude left the group. He left the group, and me and Pete started together in the first place. So it was just like, okay, well, fuck it, let's make an album. So my role, more production, definitely. That's when I introduced the dude from the Dreadnotz to the world on our album. That's this other guy, Cage, that Pete was working with. He brought him on the album too, and just more production and a little bit more responsibility.
Right. How did you end up remixing Curious's I'm Curious?
Again, that's Pete Nice's record. He had Hoppo Records at the time, and Curious was signed to him, and me and Pete are pretty close. We've been through our shit or whatever, but we're genuine friends. I'm very close to Bushimi. Me and Bushimi are close.
Right.
So when that came around, it was just pretty much like, a natural thing. I'm trying to do this for Bobito. George, I'm trying to freak the sample. All right, bring the record over. Freak the sample, throw some drums behind it, and it's a wrap.
Right.